Howdy, and welcome to the TankNSpank guide to Sennarth the Cold Breath on normal and heroic difficulty. This is a two-phase encounter that starts on the bottom of 4 floors. During phase 1, you fight the boss as she moves her way across 3 platforms and up 3 flights of stairs. Once on the top floor, she lands, and phase 2 begins.
One of the main mechanics that you'll deal with is Breath of Ice. Sennarth occasionally breathes out patches of ice that persist on the ground. These patches of icy ground deal a small amount of damage and cause players to slide. They seem to work on a momentum system, so if you dash across them really quickly, you will slide really quickly. If, for example, you use the Hunt, you're liable to go flying off the ledge and fall to your death. If you survive the fall by maybe using Glide, for now you can just run up and join back in the fight. It sounds like this might not be intended on the live, however.
Instead of auto-attacking during phase 1, the boss spam casts Web Blast, which deals physical damage. The debuff from this stacks, increasing damage done. We were swapping around 6 stacks when the debuff fell off. The cast can be blocked, and the damage can be staggered, but it can't be parried and it can't be dodged. It also doesn't count as an auto attack, so it doesn't remove stacks of Bone Shield, which dramatically reduces the effectiveness of Death Knight's tier sets. Despite this being a cast, she only uses it on players in melee range, so tanks need to make sure that they stay in range, even when the boss is moving up the stairs.
The boss also sends out a debuff on several players called Enveloping Webs. Enveloping Webs does a small amount of damage for 6 seconds and causes players to drop sticky webbing. This webbing slows you, deals a moderate amount of damage, and gives a stacking debuff when you stand in it. On Heroic, if you reach 10 stacks, you get stunned for 30 seconds. This could be removed by getting hit by Caustic Eruption. Caustic Eruption is an explosion that occurs when any of the small spiders that are present throughout the encounter die, so if someone gets wrapped in webs, kill a small spider on top of them to free them. The patches of sticky webbing also help you deal with the boss's next mechanic, Gossamer Burst. The boss shoots webs out at everyone in the raid and after a brief delay drags them to her. Get dragged too far and you'll get pulled off the platform, probably to your death. However, if you get dragged across a patch of sticky webbing, it dramatically slows how quickly you get pulled towards Sennarth. Therefore, players that get the Enveloping Web debuff should try to drop patches of webbing near the boss so the players can get dragged through it and survive the pull-in. Large movement abilities can also help negate this, and on normal it is very easy to just run against the pull-in. There are also some pillars around the room that look like they should stop you if you get pulled into them. These work sometimes, but not always on the beta. On each of the first 3 platforms, you'll fight a Frost Breath Arachnid. This medium-sized spider does ramping AoE magic damage as well as a frontal cone. Kill it before it gets too large and wipes your raid.
One last ability to discuss is Chilling Blast. Sennarth puts a circle around all players, dealing damage over 4 seconds, and explodes when it expires, dealing magic damage to all players within 4 yards. Everyone in the raid gets this mechanic, so you want to remain spread. This becomes even more impactful in phase 2, when you reach the top of the 3rd staircase. The boss descends to the platform and becomes tankable. The Chilling Blast now leaves behind a Glacial Plume. Running into this knocks you back and does extra damage. You want to leave the plumes to the outside of the platform and give yourself as much room as possible to deal with the boss's next ability, Repelling Burst. Instead of dragging you to the boss, all players instead get knocked back and take significant frost damage. Combine this with the icy floor and the glacial plumes and it's easy to get knocked off or ping-ponged around and die. Her Enveloping Web cast now becomes Suffocating Webs. This targets the tank and knocking them back after 6 seconds and wrapping them in a web. She continues to summon spiderlings during this phase, so you need to kill one of the small spiderlings on top of the web tank to clear the debuff. During phase 2, Sennarth gains stacks of Pervasive Cold, increasing her frost damage by 10%, and this stacks until she's killed and acts as a Soften Rage. For a lot of our pulls, we wanted to save Lust for this phase because of the ramping damage, but it's actually better to Lust on the pull when everyone is alive and has cooldowns up. The more damage you do during phase 1, the shorter and therefore easier phase 2 is.
So, what did we think about the boss?
My first impression when I walked in is that this is a really cool looking room. This is a really cool looking giant spider. Everything's really blue and I like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. The aesthetics of the fight are really, really cool. That's unfortunately where most of the parts of the fight that I liked ended. As a tank, the web burst, the boss casting at the tank feels really clunky. When she's down on the platform, she has a huge hitbox, and it's very easy to be in it and be getting targeted by the by the cast, but as soon as you start to move on the stairs, the boss's hitbox takes up just a very small chunk of the stairs, so you have to be right up on the edge. If you move out for a second, then one of your melee is going to end up taking a web blast and getting one shot. And then at the same time, there's abilities where you have to be moving out and then back in. It didn't feel good to be tanking the fight the entire time. You were kind of on eggshells trying to make sure you were where you needed to be.
Yeah, timers will definitely help with this quite a bit for when she does her pull. She sucks everybody in with her web there at 100 energy, so you're kind of keeping an eye on that. Make sure we jump far enough away and behind a web to get pulled through the web. All this, making sure you don't jump too early so that you're out of range, so that she turns and one-shots a melee. Also, that being said, kind of aiming the ad, they do a frontal that puts more ice on the ground, so you're kind of tanking in ice, slowly moving around, trying to move back and forth to keep the ad facing one direction, because then he's going to do a frontal that puts ice all over the ground, and if you kind of mess that up, there's just ice everywhere, which there already was ice everywhere the whole time anyway. We were pugging quite a bit, so there was a bit of YOLO going on during the testing.
The boss on normal seemed like it was tuned fairly well. We killed it about when we expected to. On heroic, I don't know if it was just our group DPS profile or what, but we were getting to the top of the stairs and the boss still was sitting at 45-50% health. And that was, if you get to the top and there's that much health left, you don't really stand much of a chance because of the ramping damage. So at least by the time we did it on normal, this tuning seemed a little better, so maybe they had figured it out by that point.
Yeah, you definitely want to be doing as much damage as you can in the first phase as she's ascending, because once you get up to the top, you're running out of room pretty quick, and the ramping damage gets to be too much pretty quickly.
Yeah, I do like that aspect of it. It's not like Halandris, where if you do more damage early, the boss just moves faster. It's like the boss damage for the entire fight matters. So that is one aspect of it that I like.
I also feel like a good strategy for that last phase, since everyone's going to be getting the chilling blast and the circles and the plumes on the ground. You want to try and have like your melee in one group sort of behind the boss when this goes out, so that you're kind of not denying yourself room that you can be using. That's all we have for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe, as that helps, and we'll see you in the next guide.